I totally forgot. Maybe I'll leave it on there next time. We'll see. Yeah, maybe I will. All right. Well, we at 5:30 yet? Not yet. We are getting there. Should I go and brush it? Probably don't even really can't tell the difference. Yep, I was caught up on threads. All right. This is a learning live. You will need note-taking materials, physical or virtual. You will also need a second device just to see the 74 principles of real leadership. Visit the website at theturnarounddoctor.com. Go to the 74 principles of real leadership tab. Scroll down. We are coming around third on the leader-led portion of the principles of real leadership. We have Reprimand Privately today, and then we will be doing the other two and move on into Powerful. Note-taking materials, second device, and you will need to have some deep breaths so we can get this party started. 3 deep breaths. I am Dr. Donna Louise Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout, and today, as I mentioned, we will be discussing Reprimand Privately. How did we get here? We got here because we woke up this morning and we are sitting in front of a device. No, we are here because of neurogenesis, and that's the creation of new neurons. Those neurons then turn into or transition into neuroplasticity, which is creating new neural pathways in your brain. You take that portion, combine it with the theory of personal accountability, as well as the 74 principles of real leadership, and you land here at Neuropability. That is the brain's ability to wire itself to use the 74 principles of real leadership to create unlimited neural pathways so that you can learn to hold yourself personally accountable day in and day out to achieve your best day in and day out. How do we do it? We use this amazing frontal lobe. Inside of there is located the executive function of the brain, which is also known as the CEO of the brain. So without further ado, let's use it today. Today, we will be discussing Reprimand Privately. If you want to understand or get an overview of the 74 principles of real leadership, just go to the 74 principles of real leadership playlist and you can start from there. I reviewed them and now I'm going over them individually and I'm taking them word by word so that you can have a total understanding of the principles of real leadership. Now, I have been using Chat GPT and Grok. I keep calling it Gork. It is not Gork, it is Grok, and obviously my own research as well. So today's information is a combination of all of those things. Reprimand Privately. How did we come to this principle of real leadership? And the introduction that I used on my other social media platforms to announce this was that when I was a second lieutenant in Korea, Captain Gaylord, Lexi Gaylord was our company commander. I had the worst platoon. I was given the worst platoon in the company, so it was bad. When I got there, decided that he was going to have a company formation, embarrass the dog shit out of my platoon, and then let everybody know that we were the worst platoon. I did hook you up with that. We were the worst platoon in the company. Part of it was because I was not a sycophant and I wasn't going to kiss his ass. So he wanted to let everybody know my platoon wasn't shit. All right, bet. Anyway, that's where this came from 1996, fall of 1996. So Reprimand Privately. And I will address the issues in the military when it is appropriate to do, when it's not appropriate to do, as we go on. Just wanted to tell you the origin of this particular principle of real leadership. So what is the definition of reprimand? Today, I'm going to give you the definition of it, the context and use and other things, and then we'll get into why people don't use it and some steps for you to use it properly and effectively. So hold on, because it's going to be like drinking out of a fire hose this morning. Now, reprimand. It is a formal expression of disapproval or feedback. Remember, it's the second part of that is or feedback, okay? Disapproval or feedback. delivered verbally or in a written format to address unacceptable behavior or performance. Unacceptable behavior or performance. It serves as a warning or corrective measure with the purpose of preventing recurrence of the issue. So basically, it is written or verbal, and you are addressing a behavior or performance, and it is a corrective warning so that that behavior or that performance doesn't persist. Okay, that's that part. Now, typically it's used by someone in a position of authority, such as an employer, a supervisor, a teacher, a parent, a manager, a coach, a leader, or a legal entity. It is typically used by someone in a position of authority, such as an employer, a supervisor, a teacher, a parent, a manager, a coach, a leader, or a legal entity. That is the person that is usually, or entity, that is giving the reprimand. Now, what is the purpose of it? It has a corrective purpose, and the primary goal is to address and rectify misconduct, poor performance, or rule violations rather than merely punish. That's the whole point. A reprimand is the goal is to rectify misconduct, poor performance, or violations rather than to simply punish. As I've mentioned several times, my daughter was never put on punishment. She could never be on the phone or tell somebody later, I was put on punishment. We called it calibration, and that was thanks to Anthony Bertoya, who was a financial person at Frito-Lay that I interviewed while I was working on my dissertation, and he gave me the concept, and I've used it ever since. And so it is not punishment. It's not punishment. She was calibrated. She was veering off track. And so whatever corrective action she received was to get her back on track. So she received many verbal reprimands in her life. And as an adult, she is still having corrective behavior and reprimands given to her. A couple days ago, she had that experience. Now, the severity. A reprimand is generally less severe than disciplinary actions like suspension or termination, but can escalate to such measures in the pursuit of better behavior. So initially it starts off small, and then it can escalate into more severe actions taken if that behavior or that performance does not improve. Now, when I wrote the book, I was talking about work because my book was written so that I could use it when I went on speaking engagements, because even though I was Dr. Donna, for some reason I needed to have a book too. But it worked out because we're still using that information today, 17 years, what is it? Yeah, somewhere around there, 16, 17 years later. However, I lost my train of thought. So initially, it was all just for work related, work related. But because when you know better, you do better, and you can always expand the definition. Now it's in personal accountability as well. So let's discuss. Well, first of all, what questions do you have about reprimand, the correction purpose or the severity of it? Are we all aligned on where we're headed? So we're still talking about reprimand and why it's necessary. You're using it to correct a behavior or a performance, and it's not detrimental when you first start. It can escalate to a more severe level, but initially it's you're behaving this way or your performance is here, and we want to stop it at this low level. What questions do you have? Okay, and if nothing, VRGT is still here. Good morning. Could you just repeat which part? Okay, so the last sentence is that the severity, the severity of a reprimand is generally less severe than disciplinary actions like suspension or termination, but it can escalate to such measures if the behavior persists. So if the behavior consistently keeps going in a negative trend or negative trajectory, then you have to take on severe actions. And if you're in the workforce, it's basically referred to as progressive discipline process. So if you're in school, first it ends up being like a classroom notification, then it might be in-house, then it might be a suspension, and then it might be a total, you getting kicked out of the school and you can't come back. And the same thing with the job. It's a written versus a verbal, verbal, written, and then you move on to you don't have a job anymore. So the context of use in the workplace, we were thinking the same thing. Okay, great. That's awesome. So tree fruit. Workplace. A reprimand might be issued for tardiness, unprofessional conduct, failure to meet deadlines, or policy violations. In the workplace, it could be issued for tardiness, unprofessional conduct, failure to meet deadlines, or policy violations. And the first example that came to my mind is people showing up a minute late. And I think I've said this before, but the reason why, if you're ever in a challenge and you're over a minute late with it, it came from Frito-Lay, because 1 minute to 3 hours and 59 minutes was half a point. So a minute late still means that you are late. That's the first thing I thought about. Unprofessional conduct could mean that you're saying things that go against the policies and procedures, employee handbook in that organization. And failure to meet deadlines means that you keep turning information in if you're in management late, or policy violations. So you're not adhering to the employee handbook in some way. The next one is education. So in education, teachers or school administrators may reprimand students for disruptive behavior, cheating, or violating school rules. So it's behind the scenes. And when Nola was in homeschool, there were a couple people in her English class that decided to cheat on the assignment. And so the English teacher, they were dealt with, and then the English teacher changed the whole prompt so that they couldn't. So this was early pre-chat GPT, where people were still trying to cheat the system. Makes no sense, but it is what it is. The next one, which I will address now as I did at the beginning, is legal or military. So in the legal or the military, it can be a formal sanction for misconduct. In the military, general letter of reprimand, Article 15 or Article 31. And then if it's legal in the civilian sector, it's an attorney can give you, so it could be a breach of protocol, a cease and desist. You get served papers because you're getting ready to get a divorce and things like that. And I'll wait because it's going to come back up again for the military. The next one is personal settings. And so this is parents or guardians. They might reprimand for misbehaviors in the youth. And that's what I said with Nola, is it was calibration. Punishments don't work. The whole word of punishment is negative, and people are like, I'm being punished. And now they're sitting there ready to seek revenge. But when you say you veered off course, let's get you back on course to change the behavior or change the performance. And then the final one, which I added myself, is personal accountability. So real leaders holding themselves and others personally accountable for not using the 74 principles of real leadership. So Nola and I recently had an interaction, and I was telling her that she was not communicating effectively. She was telling me that she was. Once all of the energy was away, the feelings, we got down to the root cause of what was stopping her from communicating effectively, and we were able to move forward. So once you are the beautiful thing about the 74 principles of real leadership, when everybody agrees to follow them, is that now you can just hold people personally accountable. If you're talking to someone and they're not listening to you, you can say, excuse me, one of the 74 principles of real leadership is to listen. And right now I'm attempting to communicate effectively with you, and you're not listening to me. Look people in their eyes when you're talking to them is another principle of real leadership. I know some cultures that's not no bueno, but the country that I live in, it's bueno. And so now you can say, you're not keeping eye contact with me. It gives you the foundation, and it's the language of adulthood. Now everybody can have and understand that we are all speaking the same language, and it's personal accountability. And so when people are not using the 74 principles of real leadership, they've done something and they haven't apologized and they're wrong, say, hey, one of the 74 principles of real leadership is to apologize when you were wrong, and you didn't apologize. Hold others accountable to those 74 principles of real leadership, because that's one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So in all this, when you are following the 74 principles of real leadership, guess what it makes simpler to do? Reprimand privately. It allows you the ability to reprimand people because you're just addressing the performance or the behavior. And in this instance, the principles of real leadership are behaviors that tell you what to do. And if you do the opposite of them, that means that you're being personally unaccountable. What questions do you have about the context or use of reprimand? Hold up. There we go. Yeah, or they got kicked out of school. Yes, ma'am, they did. And sometimes get kicked out of the whole school district. Repeat parenting. So parenting is parents or guardians must reprimand for misbehaviors. Most parents believe that punishment changes. It doesn't. It's just like, and Kevin, you know this from being in criminal justice and law enforcement, the recidivism rate for second time offenders increases. It doesn't decrease because prison reform doesn't actually work because you're not actually reforming them. They go back to prison and they come out better criminals. Very few people, and I haven't researched the number recently, but very few people come out and say, I'm going to be a better person. That's not what happens because the behavior isn't being addressed. So when you are reprimanding as a parent, if you take punishment out of the equation and you transition to, I'm addressing your performance and your behavior, I'm reprimanding the performance and the behavior, you actually receive a better outcome because you're strategic. And so this is the example that I would use. The friend that I was friends with for 10 years and severed that relationship is whenever her daughter was born in 1997. She was a teen mom. My friend was. So when the daughter was a teenager, whenever she did something wrong, they would take her phone or they would take her cord to her TV. No matter what she did, take the phone and take the cord to the TV. And I told my friend, that's not going to work because she's somewhere already saying, when is the next party? 2 weeks. So I'm going to text y'all right before I walk in the house because I'm about to be late. Y'all not going to hear from me for about a week because they are not going to put me on punishment longer than that, or restriction is what they used to call it too if you're in the South. And that's it. And the behavior never changed. It never changed. They just knew, and it was lazy parenting because the parents just knew, well, we're just going to take her, and she's sitting in her room, and then she'll go talk to everybody. As soon as she got the phone and the TV cord back, that was it. I, on the other hand, like the art of war, so the element of surprise. You popped off, and I don't know what you're going to do, and you don't know what I'm going to do. So let's address the behavior and not just say you're on punishment, but you are going to be calibrated. So when my amazing offspring swung at me at 9 years old because the people in her class told her moms do laundry and you don't have to do laundry, she then got a lot of stuff changed in her life. She started having to wash and comb her own hair. She started having to do laundry. She had to start a business. She had to start a fashion blog. And so I said, oh, you got a little bit too much energy, little girl. And now you're not getting no more allowance. You are now an entrepreneur. That's what's going to happen to you. So you're going to have to work for your money. And now she is a successful entrepreneur who knows how to make fashion decisions. She can type and she can form her own opinions because I gave her skills that she was going to need. She's going to need to learn how to use a keyboard. She's going to need to learn how to set up a website. She's going to need to be able to give people receipts after they pay for their services, all things, skills that she actually uses now. So she was being reprimanded, but she was also being given a skill set. And the person that has had her phone cord and her television taken away is currently, she has 2 children and she's a waitress at Cracker Barrel in Georgia. So calibration works. Punishment does not. And let me know if I've answered your question. Kevin, Nola, no, the problem in my English class got kicked out of school writing with the cheating. Oh, they got kicked out of the school because they were cheating with the writing. And then Kevin, let me know if I answered your question. I'm going to go ahead and make that a highlight. Okay, now there are 4 forms of reprimand: verbal, written, public, and when you think about that, you see the congressional hearings and court, and then private. Right. Homeschool don't play about plagiarism. That's one of the reasons why I like homeschool too. Nova went to Connections Academy, which is national, international, and then they have the state-based Connections Academy. So they actually had teachers. Some people do the homeschool all completely by themselves. We chose to be connected to an actual school, and it's a great school. And they did stay in Nevada, so the high school did, so that's great. But yes, homeschool doesn't play, almost like private school. So the forms of reprimand are verbal, written, public, and private. And the public instance, like I said, congressional hearings, court appearances, and sometimes in the military as well. Okay, so the implications. What are the implications of reprimand? Positive. You can have positive implications. And so it can serve as a wake-up call for engaging the recipient to improve their behavior or their performance. It can serve as a wake-up call for encouraging the recipient to improve their behavior or performance, and then it often provides clarity or expectations. So when you are doing it in a positive way, then people are going to understand, oh, so the story in my book where I talk about when we went from ICS junior to ICS senior to ICS junior, and the senior forklift driver didn't understand it at all. He messed up all the rotations. My lead is having to stay every night. I'm like, what's up with this overtime? He explained it to me. We brought the person in. He was retrained. The old head was retrained. And then expectations were back to where they needed to be. And then we didn't have those problems anymore. Now, the negative aspect of reprimand is this. If it's poorly delivered or perceived as unfair, it may lead to resentment, decreased morale, and strained relationships. So when Captain Gaylord decided to embarrass my platoon in front of the entire company to try to show me who I'm is and who I'm ain't, all he did was let me say, okay, motherfucker, I can show you better than I can tell you. You're going to eat these words for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a minute. Okay, if it's poorly delivered or perceived as unfair, it may lead to resentment, decreased morale, or strained relationships. Our relationship was strained from me touching down. As soon as I got there, I was a problem for him and he was a problem for me. Now, in professional settings, a documented reprimand can impact career progression or serve as evidence in future disciplinary actions. I've told this story as well. When I let my sister come move in with me, she popped off. I showed up at the person's house business of the person that she was staying. I simply bagged all her stuff up and told her to come out here and get her stuff. We had conversations outside of the person's business. That person's husband was in the military. He was enlisted. She decided she was going to let me know to try to help my sister out. Calls my battalion commander. I get a general letter of reprimand in my file. That wasn't enough for him. He decides that he's going to call Major Moffat and let him know what a problem child I was. Unbeknownst to him, he didn't realize that that was my company commander from when I was in Korea. So nothing happened beyond that. So what God got for you, can't nobody touch you. Okay, the Bible says, "Don't touch my anointing." So ha ha ha. And by the way, Lex Gaylord didn't make major, and they kicked him out the army. I like to have to say that I had a role. I played a great role in him not making major, but that might be just overly ambitious with that statement. So the point is, in a professional setting, if it's done with ill intent, you can't use it to derail someone's career. All right. So in summary, a reprimand is a formal corrective expression of disapproval aimed at addressing or preventing undesirable behavior. Its tone, delivery, and consequences depend on the context, but it universally seeks to uphold standards and encourage improvement. So it is done to say this is not acceptable performance or behavior. We need to do something about this together. And when the tone of it is done properly, it is well received, and the person goes, "Oh, I didn't realize that I needed to work on that. What are we going to do?" And it works when it's done correctly. Now, the definition of privately is this. That was all for reprimand, right? I told you it was a fire hose. Now, privately means it is in a manner that is confidential, secluded, or not open to the public, ensuring that something occurs away from observation or involvement of others, behind closed doors, in an office, somewhere else at an undisclosed location. So other people can't hear. I mean, technically they can hear it if you got cell phones, but the other people can't see it, they can't hear it, and they don't know what's going on. It's just you and the group that is the individual or persons that need to be reprimanded. And it can refer to actions, conversations, or settings restricted to a specific individual or group, often to maintain discretion. So if you're having a team meeting, let's have a team meeting. Don't stand out in the parking lot, be in the front of the warehouse. And another thing, and the next time don't stream it on live. That's not what that's for. So what questions do you have about the definition and the implications and everything regarding reprimand and the small little teeny tiny definition of private? And when I mention those people's names, those men were not used to women being in the military, and they were not used to African American women being in the military. And they wanted me to understand that I needed to know my place. And unfortunately for them, when I was a child, my uncle took me to go see Malcolm X speeches, and I had to read books on Winnie and Nelson Mandela and all of that. So I didn't get the memo that they thought I should have had. So there was conflict because I did get those memos. So all that shit there was childlike. Well, guess we going to war right here, right now. That's how that's gonna be. So part of it was I did not know my place, apparently. Still don't know my place. But I do. I actually do. So this side of personal accountability. So way back, even when I was 22 and 23 years old, I was a rebel with a cause. Yes, because I felt like it. No. Okay, I digress. Now, why don't people reprimand privately? Kevin, I'm glad you asked that question this morning. And here's why. And I would like to just have this disclaimer to say, I didn't want to do this principle of real leadership because people have adversarial relations when it comes to reprimand. And I knew that there was going to be like this negativity thing kind of going on. But as I continued to do my research and I let it go, I said, this is necessary. You have to expound upon this. And that's what I'm doing now. So why don't people care? Why don't people reprimand privately? Number one, they want to set an example or deter others. In, I think it's China, they have this process called caning. And so they take this big giant cane. I remember back in the 90s, I forgot, somebody in college went and did some dumb shit and they had it on the news and he's getting caned with this big bamboo. It's like, boing, boing. So don't come here, silly Americans, doing dumb shit because we will cane you in public. So doing it is to set an example and deter others. Let me show you what's going to happen to you if you don't behave well and if you don't perform well. So that's the number one reason why. Number two, cultural or institutional norms. So in some cultures or organizations, public reprimands are seen as a more effective or acceptable method. They may align with hierarchical structures where authority is demonstrated openly. So examples of this would be in the military or traditional work settings, public corrections and the standard to maintain it. So when you see the Congress, people say, oh, we're going to go in front of Congress. And they're going to say, well, why did you do that? And the Congress are sitting up high and the person in a little bit chair, like, and in the military, you do it to have corrective action. Now, I have been guilty of embarrassing somebody. When I was young and dumb and 15 years old in ROTC, and I used to teach the drill and ceremony, there was one young lady who could not get it. She just couldn't get an about face. She couldn't get the step, pivot, step, the rear march. And she couldn't get double, I forgot the name of, because I used to call her church lady. It's escaping me. So I brought her up to the front of the drill and ceremony group, and I embarrassed the shit out of her. She was very sad and crying and everything else, and she finally got it, and then I sent her on her way. Terrible. Wrong idea, hero. Guilty of it, okay? We're going to chalk it up to me not having a frontal lobe. And in the military, we do it all the time. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't look the same. Chain step march, that's what it is. Who is it? And now that person has to say, it's me. So no bueno. We do it, and it's to correct it because you're saying, oh, let me correct this right now for the rest of the group. And in the military, and if you've pledged or anything, the hazing and the embarrassment is there to show people, we're going to embarrass the shit out of you. So you'll stop doing that thing. Next is a lack of, so that was cultural or institutional norms, and it was perfectly acceptable. There are TikTok videos of people getting smoked right now in the mud, everything else, people mopping the water and doing dumb stuff, saying this is not a toy, this is not a toy, and all of that. So the rest of the group will know, don't do that. Number three, lack of awareness or emotional control. So the person delivering gets impulsively driven by frustration or anger rather than considering a private setting. And that's what I did with that young lady. I literally was just mad and frustrated, and we couldn't move on, and I couldn't show off my grandeur and my command voice because she was messing up. So I'm mad and I'm frustrated. So right here, right now, I could have waited. I could have told her, hey, you want to come in early? I can show you how to do this. There were plenty of ways that I could have taken that approach, and I did not. Embarrassment and yelling and being mad was the approach that I took. So again, number 3 is lack of awareness or emotional control due to anger and frustration. Number 4, to ensure transparency. So to ensure transparency in situations requiring accountability, such as legal, political, or public-facing roles, you want that to be on public record. So a public reprimand may be chosen to demonstrate fairness or address stakeholder concerns. So the constituents, the citizens of the country, let's look to make sure that this person gets their just desserts. Want to see it, want justice now. Go ahead, right here publicly. We all got to see it. So it's documented. That's why anytime you go to court, everything that's said in court becomes public record, transcripts and everything else. And now it's all out there in the open. So be careful who you sue, or all your business is going to be out there. All right, number 5, practical constraints. Practical constraints. So it may not always be an immediate opportunity for private reprimand. For example, job safety. I don't have time to say, hey, put your forks down. If you get some shit getting ready to fall off the 3rd tier, stop right now. Put that back up on the 3rd tier. We don't have time for, hey, once all that whole pallet falls on people's heads and everything, come on over here and we're going to talk about it. No. Forks up in the air and driving. No bueno. So you got to say, hey, not having the PPE on, that's on the spot corrections, and you don't have time to sit down and say, well, remember for the last 5 days you've been dropping pallets on people's heads. Well, now we're going to address it. Absolutely not. Has to be addressed right then and there. I have to do it with Nola when she's driving. She's telling me to wait. I'm saying, but it's happening now. I can't wait. I got to tell you how to do it right now because this is the moment in which it needs to happen. Number 6, power dynamics or ego. If we notice the last couple of days, everything that we're talking about with the brain, the ego keeps popping up under the don't section. Under the don't section is like, yeah, because the ego. Yeah, because the ego. Edging great out. Yeah, because of the ego. So it's interesting that ego keeps showing up under don't and unaccountable. So egomaniacs don't want to be held personally accountable because they all up in their stuff. And all egomaniacs have low confidence and low self-esteem and these big, giant, hunormic egos walking around like they know what's going on. And they don't. So the power dynamics or the ego is number 6. Some individuals use public reprimands to assert dominance and reinforce their authority or publicly to establish control. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Some individuals use public reprimands to assert dominance, reinforce their authority, or publicly establish control. Now, why would they do that? This can stem from insecurity or a desire to be seen as decisive. And we may have some semblance of that somewhere today, where individuals are taking people down and take you down. I'm right, because I'm big and tough. I'm going to show you. Don't mess with me. I'm in charge. Finish them. Okay, but that doesn't bode well, because what happens is people then go back, they become resentful, and now they want to retaliate themselves. So it's best, like Lil Wayne said, real G's move in silence, so real G's reprimand in private. Okay, number 7, perception of severity. So a public perception of severity is number 7. So get that twice. A public reprimand may be perceived as carrying more weight, making the recipient take the issue more seriously. I'm going to tell you out in public, and you're going to know that we're serious. We mean what we say, because it's in public today. And it also amplifies the consequences by involving social pressure or embarrassment. Where are we at now? Cancel culture. Oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Cancel them, cancel them, cancel them. And then the receipts start showing up. And everybody's like, oh, well, we didn't know that part. Well, we didn't see that part. Oh, wait, okay. Well, we thought they was wrong, but they will not apologize when they're wrong when they find out that all of it ain't what they thought that it was going to be. But this is an atrocity. Cancel them, boycott, get rid of them. Nah. So, yep, say one thing, and oh my God, now people are worried about cancel culture. Okay, cool, got it. You can try to cancel me if you want to. I will go outside on a box with a bullhorn. and talk about personal accountability. Get me a permit and be on the Las Vegas Strip. Okay, so principle number 14, leader led. This is what we're talking about today in the hot sun. Just give me one of them elotes umbrella and just be sitting out there. Y'all want some water? I got water for $2. While I'm talking, here you go, ice cold. Now, we getting ready to go to knowledgeable. So anyway, the perception of severity. That's why people will do it publicly. Number 8 is group or collective misconduct. When group or collective misconduct, when an entire group is involved in the behavior, a public reprimand may be more efficient or appropriate to address everyone at once rather than singling out individuals. Whole platoon messed up. Whole platoon getting smoked. And Frito-Lay, everybody picked a bad order. We're going to address it. Nobody did pre-shift stretches. We're getting ready to address it right now. In Toastmasters, when I was the president, Nola and I, she had to volunteer that summer to get her community service hours, and we would get there and set the room up. So the rest of the club decided, oh, Dr. Donna and Nola going to set up the room. So when everybody got in, I got up there and said, listen, my underwear is stuck to me right now because I'm in here hot as hell setting up this room. We are all members of this club. So we all gonna set this room up. This ain't my job. This is our job. This is our club. And going forward, next Thursday, everybody's gonna be in here moving these tables around and setting this room up. I'm not doing this by myself. I'm the president of the club, but we are all Lunchtime Talker members. So that's a perfect example of collectively, the whole doggone group knew, y'all better come in here and move these tables and chairs too. All right. And number 9, lack of training or skill. Lack of training or skill. Some people lack the training or the interpersonal skills to handle sensitive matters discreetly. Some people lack the training or interpersonal skills to handle sensitive materials discreetly. They may not realize the negative impact of public criticism or how to structure private reprimand effectively. So in this instance, my mother doesn't know how to reprimand privately. She does not. She lacks the skill set, the communication skills, and everything else. She don't care. She will embarrass the dog shit out of you and finish what she was doing and go on about her doggone business. No tact, no decorum, none of that. Just say it. What comes up, what comes out. She at work. I mean, she is vicious. She has one of her supervisors had 2 prosthetic legs, and she messed around and made my mother mad. And my mother told her, and this is what she said, YouTube, I'm not condoning violence. She said, bitch, I will take both of your legs off and beat you with them. And then my stepfather had to come to work and pick her up from work because she was about to fight her supervisor. So this is a person that under no circumstances will ever not embarrass you. Okay. Repeat what once again? Which part, Kevin? The whole thing? You mean you mean all of the reasons why people privately reprimand? You're saying all of 9 of these reasons? Oh, the last one, number 9. A lack of training or skill. Lack of training or skill. Some people lack the training or interpersonal skills to handle sensitive matters discreetly. Some people lack the training or interpersonal skills to handle sensitive matters discreetly. They may not realize the negative impact of public criticism or how to structure a private reprimand effectively. They may not realize the negative. Oh, you got it. Okay, got it. All right. Now, why private reprimands are preferred? Nola, I'm glad you asked the question. Here's why. Because they they preserve the recipient's dignity and reduce humiliation. So they preserve the recipient's dignity and reduce humiliation. And we know that one of the 74 principles of real leadership is to treat people with dignity and respect. Next, they foster trust and open communication between the authority and the individual. They foster trust and open communication between the authority and the individual. And we know establish trust and be trustworthy is also one of the 74 principles of real leadership. The next one is it avoids defensiveness or resentment, which can arise from public shaming. So because it's behind closed doors, it's secluded, no one's there but the people involved, it avoids all of this. I'm going to get you back. You better watch your back, Dr. Donna, because your car might get keyed or something to that effect. And now people don't feel shame. Next, it allows for a more constructive, focused conversation without external pressure. When you have sat down and prepared and you're saying it's the performance or the behavior and you do it privately, now you have something constructive to focus on. And that's why I say the 74 principles of real leadership are so important, because it takes the hijacking of the amygdala out of the equation. In order to use them, you have to be in your frontal lobe. You need to be using executive function and the other parts of that lobe in order to engage in the 74 principles of real leadership. So that's why if you're using the 74 principles of real leadership, everything you do is going to work out better because everybody's speaking the same language. Now, I'll say those again because now we're going to say how to. So why private reprimands are preferred. Number one, they preserve the recipient's dignity and reduce humiliation. Number two, they foster trust and open communication between the authority and the individual. Number three, they avoid defensiveness or resentment, which can arise from a public shaming. And number four, they allow for a more constructive, focused conversation without external pressure. And now, when we're going to get to the good part, get down to the good part. How to reprimand privately. We are at the good part. Number one, you got to choose an appropriate time and place. I have a 60-second strategy that discuss a person that they were having a sales meeting and they were at Starbucks right by the door, telling the person everything that they did wrong in their sales numbers and how they were going to actually get it done better. Now, my recommendation would have been to meet at the office early, have that conversation, talk about action plans, go to Starbucks, get your coffee, and then go into the marketplace to demonstrate and start to do what they talked about in that early morning meeting. But choose an appropriate time and place. Number two, prepare in advance. So the person that's having to do the reprimanding needs to prepare in advance. So you need to be able to clarify the issue, define the goal, and anticipate reactions. I call that playing the movie out. I'm going to say this. I know this person, so most likely they're going to say either this or this, and be prepared for those reactions. In sales, it's overcoming objections. In reprimanding, it's overcoming reactions. So prepare in advance, clarify the issue, define the goal, and anticipate reactions. Number three, you want to start with a positive or neutral tone. So you want to say, "Now I told you, dumbass, not to." That's not gonna work. Okay, that's not no bueno. Yeah, that person's amygdala is already hijacked, fight, flight, freeze, or appease. Don't do that. Let's start with a neutral tone and say, "Hey, Dr. Don, the reason why I brought you in this morning is I want to talk about your batch picking. I want to talk about how you are talking to the soldiers. I want to talk about how you are interacting with the Toastmasters." Okay, cool, Dr. Donna, thanks. Okay, and then number four is you want to state the issue clearly and specifically. So you want to state the issue. You had 17 orders that were mispicked last week. 17 orders that were mispicked. So there you go. We're talking about the 17 orders that were mispicked. And then after you do number four, which is state the issue clearly and specifically, you're going to do number five, which is explain the impact. As a result, 17 different routes did not receive the correct amount of chips and grandma's cookies and beef jerky, and that made the RSR have to come back and do a double pick to get the orders correct. Okay, so 17 routes got messed up and 17 stores didn't get what they needed, causing coming back, having to do a double pick to get the orders picked. And then you're going to say this cost this much money, this many hours, and overtime gas mileage and all of that diesel, actually, because those were diesel vehicles. And then number 6, you're going to listen to their perspective. And then Dr. Donna is going to say, wow, 17 orders. You know what? I got new glasses coming and I didn't have my glasses on because the other ones broke. I thought I could see everything on the thing. I don't have contacts. I need to come to work because I got to take care of my family. But that's what happened. Okay, cool. Now, number 7, you're going to reinforce the expectations and the standards. And the expectations is you pick all orders correctly because of the impact to the business. So number 6, listen to their perspective. Number 7, reinforce expectations or standards. And then you have number 8. You're going to discuss the consequences if necessary. Okay, Dr. Donna, if you break your glasses again and you mispick another 17 orders, we got to turn this from an oral conversation to a written conversation. And now I got to start looking at you from a progressive discipline perspective, because I get it, but you should have called off, took vacation, or went and tried to get emergency things. We could have put you in a different area while something that was up close that you could check. We could have had somebody else check the orders. So next time that can't happen. And that's number 8. Discuss consequences if necessary. Number 9 is end on a constructive note or a positive note. So you want to say, reaffirm your belief in their ability to improve and express willingness to support them. I know overall this has never happened before. You are a great picker. And now that you have your glasses, I'm assured that you will go back to your pre-broken glasses performance. And then you want to summarize the discussion and confirm mutual understanding in the next step. So once you end it, hey, you're still a good person. We are in this together. And here's what we're going to do for next steps. Now, let's say I did pick the orders wrong, and it's because I didn't understand the new pick system. Like I actually had an employee that had to terminate because of that. Now we're going to develop strategies. And the strategy that I had with Keisha Hampton was this. I said, double check your orders. Before you hand your pick sheets in to anybody, go back and double check and then put your initials on the orders that you double checked everything that you picked. She said, got it. Every night, wait, did you see the KH? Did you see the KH? And she still missed picking the orders. So at that point, wasn't working. Progressive discipline, she had to go. But you have that system in place. Then number 10 is you document the conversation. So this is in 101s. I had a form. We're signing. We're putting it in a little box of the things. You initial, I initial. So everybody understands what the task is or the new actions are going to be. And so documenting the conversation, number 10. It could be a simple note or a formal letter or form. And mine was a 101 form. And you can share the summary with the recipient when it's appropriate, ensuring that everything is transparent. Okay, I went to the CSR. I let the lead know Keisha got to check all her orders before she puts them on the truck herself. She's going to turn her sheets in separately because we used to put them in a pile, but she's going to hand them to you to make sure that she checked everything herself. And then finally, number 11, follow up. So you're going to monitor the progress of the individual, provide feedback. So the pick sheets went out, RSRs came back. If the order was good, she was good. If they was like, my truck was a mess, I was missing this, I was missing 15 cases of this and all of that, then okay, we're back in the office again. Keisha, these are the orders that you mispicked, and let's try this one more time. But here's a write-up along with the strategy. And you want to schedule follow-up meetings until the goals or objectives are met to ensure that the behavior is improved. And if you got to go progressive discipline in the event it's in the workplace, go ahead. If you got to chapter somebody out of the military, if it's your child and you just want to kick their asses out the house, no, you can't. Thought about it, but no, I digress. The point is that you have the follow-up to ensure that the behavior or the performance is improving. So I'll go back through just a summary, how to reprimand privately, and it's this. Number 1, choose an appropriate time or place. Number 2, prepare in advance. Number 3, start with a positive or neutral tone. Number 4, state the issue clearly and specifically. Number 5, explain the impact. Number 6, listen to their perspective. Number 7, reinforce expectations and standards. Number 8, discuss consequences if necessary. Number 9, end on a constructive note. Number 10, document the conversation. And number 11, follow up. Okay, what questions do you have about reprimanding privately? why it doesn't happen, why it does happen, the benefits of making sure that it happens, or how to actually do it. On the notes. You got them all. Got it. Oh, that's from the other day. This morning. Okay. Nola, do you have any questions or comments? Okay. So the final two questions for today. Looks like we're going to get out of here early or on time. What did you learn today? And what did you learn about yourself today? I learned that I do not like talking about reprimand privately. That's about myself. Oh. I learned that there is a lot to know about reprimanding. And there are reasons when people feel like it needs to be public. And remember, ... if you are thinking, so I know that YouTube didn't kick me out, or not kick me out, but mine keeps being that I can't see the chat. You learned my underwear is stuck to me right now. Okay. I did say that in a professional setting. Nola, I learned that you reprimand privately to prevent embarrassment and resentment. You have to effectively communicate and use the sandwich method to reprimand privately correctly, unless it's safety. Yes. Then you got to do it on the spot. That is correct. It's called an on-the-spot correction. Thank you, U.S. Army. The helicopter is low flying. The helicopter's hovering. Hovering overhead. To pick up the net. Nola, I learned about myself. I have to work on my tone during reprimand privately or publicly because I'm loud. I got to be calm. That is correct. And that is what our conversations have been about recently. Kevin Hook, myself. When I look back over the notes that I've taken about how to reprimand properly, it made me feel good about when I had to do it to my staff when I was in corporate America. That is awesome for you. And sometimes I did it. Sometimes, actually, I did it. I knew when to do it and when not to do it once I had my military experience under my belt. The final thing that I would like to say before we get out of here and depart and go on to our sensational Sunday, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Sunday, is this: 3 out of 4 people will not be personally accountable currently. So give yourself credit. And I say this not often enough, I don't know, for the amount of effort that you're actually doing. And this is coming from someone that said, why is it so hard to change your thinking on Threads? And I told that person because of negativity bias, conformity bias, and confirmation bias. And that person said, well, that just all sounds like mindset to me. So then I provided the person with the definitions of confirmation bias, conformity bias, and the thought, the thinking stat of you have 12,000 to 6,000 thoughts a day. 90% of those thoughts are from yesterday, and 80% or more of those thoughts are negative, which is why you can't change your mind. And I'm really seeing that. And because I was in academy class, went to Cass Tech, and I have always been in elite things, MPs are elite, distinguished Toastmaster, and all these things are elite. I haven't really been paying attention to the rest of the regular average folks in their population. I've been surrounded by people who wanted to be excellent. And as a result of that, I did not realize how many people don't want to be excellent, don't want to be their best, are okay with being average and regular. And I vacillate back and forth a lot. I have the ability to do a lot. I could charge people a lot for what I know and what I do, and I could go off and teach business again. I could teach you how to be a motivational speaker, a trainer, a candlestick maker, and all of that because I did that and I was good at it. And I'm at the point where, and Nolan and I have this conversation often. If I do that, who's going to do this? Because neuroscientists aren't doing it, the psychiatrists aren't doing it, because this work is challenging to get up every day and say, here's the standard. The standard is up here, it's not down here. Here's the standard. And if you want to be best, it's going to take 100% effort every single day. So doing this work is simple, but it's not easy. Kevin, you are on the backside of the turnaround risk challenge. Nola has had to do all 4 of those. And it's simple, but it's not easy, because personal accountability shows you who you are or who you thought you were. And now you got to figure out who you actually are. And if you have any resistance to being the real you, this is not going to work. So the fact that you're doing this shows that you are committed to becoming the best version of you that you actually can be, because it is difficult with confirmation bias, conformity bias, negativity biases, and all the other biases and everything else, and everything that happens in your day, to take the time daily or with frequency to be here on these lives, do the challenges, and then say, I'm looking for something better for myself, because that's what it's about. This is about you versus you. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It's, do you want to be your best? Do you want to create new neural pathways every day for you to access parts of your mind and your life that you never thought were possible? It's so funny. And this is, I'm going to put a little bit of Nola's business out there. She literally received 8 $100 bills today this week, from Monday to Saturday. 8 $100 bills in addition to all her other fees. Just boom, 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 boom. At 22 years old, for the work that she's doing, just in addition to that, on top of, that's exceedingly abundantly above. That's not something that was happening for her 4 years ago. That was, you might get a $10 tip, $5 tip, might get a good review, but because of excellence, because of that due diligence, day in and day out, day in and day out, the rewards are now coming. So it's a trickle. And then over time, it turns into a fire hose. And then it's just this overflow and this abundance, but it's in your daily. 4 years is 1,400 and something days, day in and day out and day in and day out. So the results are going to show up later. You're going to feel good. You'll get a nice little dopamine boost. But in the future, it's going to be raining. It's going to be continuous increase and overflow, because while other people were choosing to be unaccountable, you were choosing to understand reprimand privately. You were choosing to have the turnaround challenge. You were choosing to listen to mirror versus MRI. And it's small, it's subtle, and it seems like, I don't know about this, or damn, this is hard. Fuck, I gotta do this. And now I gotta do this. And there go this doggone generational curse and this doggone character defect. But when you do it, and then you're through it, and then you just look back and go, man, look at my progress. Look at what I've done. Kevin, you had 100 in the teens days. Nola's thousands of days into this. Me too. And that's what this is about. That's what this is about. It is about waking up every single day and doing the work that's basically invisible to the rest of the world until it becomes visible. That's what this is. And so I have to be okay again with this not being popular right now. And because I'm extremely competitive, I'm like, no, more people. I have to tell myself, dude, do. And then in the book, let me see what in this book that I have. I can't remember the exact quote, but he basically said in the book, don't beat yourself up for something that you've never done before. I've never done this before. Didn't think that I would be on this path. Had no idea that I would end up here with a brain t-shirt on saying it's neurological. And the operations in me that day to day get those routes out, everything is happening. And so I just want to take time out to say, pat yourselves on the back. And pat myself on the back for doing this very important, invisible thing that 3 out of 4 people are saying, yeah, I'm not doing that shit. I'm not doing that. Just 3 out of 4. I would venture to say it's 4 out of 5, but research currently says 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4 people, 75% are like, nope, not doing it. And you are, day in and day out, in addition to the other things that you have to do for your life, for your family, for your business, whatever it is, that your customers and all of that. So give yourself 1,000% credit for the work that you're doing neurologically every day in and day out. Because it's simple. I made it simple here. And Kevin would argue, no, it ain't. You tricked me. When this day ain't going to turn around Rich Challenge. Yeah, you just watch the video, make a video. 2-minute video, you're done. It is simple. It's not easy. Look up the difference in those 2 words. So it's simple to do. May not feel easy, but it is simple to execute because you just do it and it's done and you turn it in. But give yourself a lot of credit for the work that you are doing because you are the ones who are actually doing the work. I've done the work. I'm doing different work than you, but you're doing the work to get these neural pathways started, wired, and strengthened on the daily basis. So never take that lightly because it could appear to be invisible until it becomes visible to everybody else. And Kevin and Nola like plants. So you think about it, when it's underground, the roots got to attach. And then slowly but surely, the final thing I will say is that acorns turn into oak trees. So thank you for your time this morning. For yourself, investing in yourself, and time investment in yourself is way more than money invested in yourself. I will be back tomorrow. God, higher power, and the universe willing. Same time, same place, safe space. Different brain t-shirt because I changed that. I was saying face, but I didn't like that. So safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a supercalifragilistic espialidocious Sunday. Take care. Adios.